Well, I want to start this conversation with welcome to Sticky Note Conversations,
Sticky note.
special election edition.
Special
As this is the morning after, or now the afternoon after, because the morning after was too hard. That wasn't going to happen.
Or as I like to call it, post-nut clarity.
Yeah, you did say that earlier. I didn't know that you would actually repeat it again, but that's fine. That's where we are. We are at that. So I didn't get a chance. I don't have to, though. We didn't get a chance to see each other yesterday, but I had the opportunity to have a little hotel party, our regular, normal election party, and it was at the Aria on the Vegas Strip, because that's where the Democratic Party had their event or what have you. And so what usually happens is that we all just, get rooms and we have our parties there. And so we did. And I will say, make it work party is a make it work party. Don't stop. Like we had a time. A time was had. But what I will also say is the moment that I found out that that's where the parties would be held at the Aria, I got a sinking feeling, because that is the same place that the party was held in 2016 when it was a Trump and Hillary matchup.
Yep.
And I felt like I was getting ready to sing Tina Marie Deja Vu, because I'm sitting in a very similar looking room, and I did not get dressed again and put on the outfit that I brought to go down and take pictures and party and do the thing. Because you start doing the math and you start watching, and I could see what I could see. And for a while, I didn't say anything out loud, because there were a lot of people in the room whose bubbles didn't want to be burst. And I wanted to be positive, I guess, because there was room. I'm like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nevada, and Michigan. Like, that's what she got to get. That's what she got to get. And in my heart, I just knew she'd get Michigan. I really did think that she would get Michigan. And so Pennsylvania was, the one I know everybody was worried about. And Wisconsin, I thought that's doable. And Nevada, we can do the thing. We've done the thing. We've done the thing multiple times in a row. So I thought there is room. Things were just moving slow. And then it got to the point where it just didn't feel like there was room anymore. And so, thinking about the idea of having a woman president, having a Black woman, a Black and Asian woman president was a dream, I guess. It was something that I don't think I knew how much I wanted it till I knew it wasn't going to happen. And I'm like, in my lifetime, I need to see a woman president. I need it. I need to see a woman president. I need to see a Black woman president. Like, it's not hard to do. It shouldn't be hard to do. Anyway, that's how I'm starting my little unloading of feelings, is that it really shouldn't be this hard.
Well, I'm going to say this. First of all, Kamala Harris did the thing. She was perfect. She did everything she possibly could do. What she couldn't do was save the Democrats from themselves. I cannot think of a more perfect candidate, a more perfect person to be president, a more perfect vice president than Tim Walz. They would have changed the mood of America. Having said that, we have this great economy, but Republicans understand, or Donald Trump understands social media better. He understands hate better. He understands Americans better. And I'll tell you something else. The Democratic Party got exactly the result it deserved. Immigration. We're sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of illegal aliens being here. I want the border closed. Period. My relatives, who are all Black in Chicago, have been saying ever since this administration got in that they're sick of the illegal aliens coming in, being put up in houses and hotels, and there's Black people on the streets. So right there, you got a problem. The other problem is we're so busy, Democrats are so busy pandering to immigrants that I've been to the La Libre meetings, whatever they are, over at the Koch brothers, Americans for Prosperity. I've got a lot of friends over there. I've been to their meetings, and I've been to the Black meetings. The Black meetings are packed. The La Libre meetings are packed. And they're telling those immigrants that you can experience a great life in America. You work hard, blah, blah, blah. And they help them out with business and stuff like that. The Democrats only speak to Blacks about poverty and crime. And they only speak to, they think all Latino immigrants are Mexicans. And they only talk to them about immigration and sanctuary cities and all that crap. And honestly and truly, every immigrant I talk to feels the same way about the border as white people. Their problem is they don't realize white people think of them as all Mexicans, and they probably think of most of them as illegal. And this whole Black, brown supposed to help each other thing is BS. Black people need to go and form their own way. Look at Florida. When Ron DeSantis took away all of the education and the history of Black people, nobody stood up for us. The Latins didn't stand up for us. The Asians didn't stand up for us, but especially the Latins didn't stand up for us. We have a mutual friend, my former best friend, who told me that he and his friends were sick of having to learn about Black history in school. They didn't see why they had to learn about that. Why didn't they learn about Latin history? Okay, so immigrants have no love for Black people. They have no love for women in power. They have no love for abortion. Why did we talk about abortion so much? What happened to Project 2025? We should have been talking about that, and immigrants do take Black jobs. It's that simple. I experience it in Uber. I look at construction sites. You never see a Black person on a construction site. Black people used to be able to get jobs at the fast food places. Now you go back to teenagers in general. You got a job at a burger joint. Not anymore. There's grown-ass people from all over the world back in that kitchen, and they bring more of their family with them. So, and honestly, inflation, we know, you and I know, because we're educated on stuff. That's not the presidents, the corporations. But the Democrats were afraid to say that. They're afraid to really push back on the corporations. I went to buy chicken. 4 thighs was $6. That doesn't make any sense. Salmon is almost unaffordable now. I can buy my mom salmon once a month. Democrats should have been talking about that stuff about caregivers way ahead of time, but no. And trans blockers for kids. I don't even know what that means. I don't care about it. But why would we let them? We just spend too much time on stuff that doesn't matter to the average person. And the Democratic Party spent no money in the Black community, whereas you go to every event. Whenever Kamala Harris came to town, it was on the East Side, which is Latino. They put up a mariachi band, assuming that all brown people are Mexicans who listen to mariachi music. So honestly, I get what happened, and I don't care anymore. I literally, everybody's going to reap what they sow. The economy is going to crash. Billionaires are going to run amok. Democrats got what they deserved. I'm sorry. That's my opinion.
And the opinions expressed on this episode of Sticky Note Conversations don't necessarily reflect the opinions of the creator of Sticky Note Conversations or its partners and whoever I might be connected with.
But however, they do reflect a whole lot of people, obviously.
And that is the space, right? And that's what this is, the space to talk about, because I was actually taking notes of some of the things that you said. Like, I think that you are not wrong on the majority of these things. You say things in ways that I would not say them. But also, like I'll take illegal aliens. I don't like the term. I think it's really pejorative, and I think it was meant to be a scare tactic, because an alien is meant to be scary and illegal. I do not necessarily believe that.
But that's the Democratic problem. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Go ahead.
And then I hear you, but I think for me, I think borders should be non-existent.
I know.
I think they're arbitrary lines. So I'm right there with like arbitrary lines that you say, because who can really own land? Nobody should be able to own land because it's not ours to own. It's ours to caretake until it belongs to someone else, because we're only on this earth for a small amount of time. But saying all of that, I do understand the conversation around immigration itself and how it lumps people into a certain space and saying, okay, well, we're talking about immigration. The first thing and the only thing a lot of people think about is the southern border of the United States, where Mexico and the United States meet, and people coming over, migrants coming over, and how that is like a threat to our society, when in actuality, there are probably a lot of folks who are here without the correct paperwork, coming from a lot of different places, including Europe. Right, including Europe, right? It's not strictly a brown thing, but that's the face of it. And that is a problem. And it is also a problem for folks who I don't identify with that. That has nothing to do with me. And, whether your background is Latino or Hispanic or whatever, and it still might not have anything to do with you, because your family might have been here for 10 generations, who knows, or whatever. And so it does alienate people to feel like that's the only thing you want to talk about with me. Because the same thing happens in the Black community. And we only want to talk about crime. We only want to talk about gang violence or poverty. And every Black person is not impoverished or has direct ties or connections to a gang. Right. So, that's a problem as to be stereotypical, and everybody does it. Everybody does it. They just do it in different ways. And so I think that with the Trump folks specifically, I think they do it in a way of scare tactics, whereas the Democrats may do it in a way of, we love everybody and everybody matters and everybody is supposed to matter, but they're not actually doing the things that they need to do. So when we talk about abortion, I am a executive director of a reproductive justice organization that believes in the pillars of reproductive justice. And I was sick and tired. I was so sick and tired of hearing about abortion. I didn't want to hear anything else about abortion. And not because I don't think abortion is not an important issue or an issue that needed to be taken seriously. The problem was that is an eighth of the piece of pie of what reproductive justice is and the things that matter, because there's not conversations around maternal mortality or the higher rates of breast cancer or uterine or fibroids.
Disparities in
health disparities, the healthcare disparities, caregiving, all of these things, and so much more is included in reproductive justice that's never talked about. It's so it comes down to what's the hot thing to talk about? It's what's in fashion right now. And so abortion is what was in fashion to talk about. And it tugged at enough people that they're this is what we have to talk about, because probably some consultant told them,
focus group
they told them
of white women,
this is the thing. And there's nothing else that matters more than this. And it's not a true statement. It's not, because healthcare and caregiving is one of the most important things, as you know firsthand, and as a lot of people know firsthand, how hard it is to take care of some and still hold your full-time job and still have
a life,
but actively be able to pay your bills and go to work and figure out how to navigate these systems that no one gives you directions to navigate on, how to find a caregiver that can help you with the work, or how to find, the resources that you need in order to be able to care for your person and also care for yourself, because you can't forget about yourself either. And I think also with the Black jobs,
there are not Black jobs, but there are starter jobs that are no longer available to Black people. There are industries that are no longer widely available to Black people. I think there that actually at one point there were Black jobs, the same way that people will say that there are certain jobs here that might be Latino jobs. And if you go in certain industries here in Nevada or elsewhere,
Like somebody dominates those areas, right? So it's the same thing. And at one point, a Black job might have been, working in the plant or something like that.
Or
Certain
as a
blue collar
maid,
jobs.
and they've been replaced, and those jobs have benefits, good pay, etc. And they've been actively displaced. So yeah, I get,
So
yeah.
I think that's where he was going with it. And I think there are a lot of people who are like, well, that let's just make fun of it. And I think that might have been where their mistake was, is that instead of taking some of the things seriously that he was saying or that people were saying, and if you weren't having conversations, what I call, regular everyday Black folks about what issues actually concern them, you talk to all of these folks who are the grass tops or higher,
501c3
and ask
people.
them, the people who have not touched grass in the same way as the other folks and don't see those day-to-day concerns. You're not spending enough time talking to them to understand why, one, they're attracted to voting for Trump, or two, they're attracted to not voting at all, or three, why some of the things that he said actually might resonate, because people kind of brushed it off and was like, oh, ha, 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 nobody would do that. Nobody thinks that. Black people don't think that way. But you didn't ask them, because I did ask some, not all, but I had some actual deep conversations with people over the past few months. And I'm like, Molly, we in danger, girl, because there were people who were like, I probably will vote for Trump because it feels like he knows how to make decisions. Even if it's the wrong decision, I know that he's going to make a decision and he's not just going to stand there. They didn't even care whether it was a right or wrong decision. I told you, I met a little boy over the day before the election. Well, when I say little boy, he was of voting age. He was 19 or 20, and said he'd already early voted. He voted for Trump because he's like, he can bring gas prices down.
And he wait. So here's something that I really hadn't noticed until you just said that right now. He early voted. So he was engaged to know enough to know enough about early voting, because most people don't know. The average person doesn't know there's a difference between early voting and regular voting. And he went out of his way to go vote for Trump. Think about that. Yeah. That's how deeply Trump had gotten into the system, his system.
And what I've learned, if there are a lot of young people, Black, brown, whatever, young people who voted for Trump. And I think there are some reasons why, and things that resonated with them that nobody polled to figure out and ask why. How many 18 to 25-year-olds did they actually poll, and not just poll, but actually have deeper conversations
because
with?
Democrats always say they don't vote. Democrats only go for the people they know vote. That's their whole thing about turnout. You go to the voter that has voted before, and you always say, oh, well, we don't worry about the East Side because the East Side doesn't vote. We don't worry about young people because young people don't vote. They say, and they pay lip service to them.
But then you don't worry about Black folks because they always vote.
And gay folks. Let me tell you something. The way gay people have been demonized for the last 4 years as prep for this. And the young gays, because they didn't go, this makes me sound really old, but I'm old enough to remember when there were no rights for gay people at all. Then we got rights because of, people fighting for them. And then I was probably the last wave of gay activists who had to actually fight for something. Don't ask, don't tell, marriage, etc. The ones now just 10 years later have never experienced anything. They've had boyfriends in high school. They don't know. And so they don't see any problem with not voting. And the Democratic Party just assumes they'll vote. It's that simple. And now with Black people, it's the same thing. And with all these they've targeted the educational system for a reason. And that is to get rid of people knowing history or being smart. And now they're wiping out Black history. They go directly to Black history. They don't wipe out Asian history. They don't wipe out Latino history. They wipe out Black history because they know that we actually have made change in this country every single time. So honestly and truly, the Democrats are so busy thinking that Black and gay people will just automatically vote for them, and then look at what happens. I don't think that Black people voted for Trump. I think Black people didn't bother to vote. And I have to say one more thing. Dearborn, you have got a bunch of immigrants who came into there, brought their ways of life with them, and they immediately, I guarantee you, What's going to happen in Michigan is every pride celebration, every pride flag, all this is going to be banned because of immigrants. They brought their systems with them, and then they didn't vote for Kamala because of Gaza. Well, you know what? You live in America. Why are your loyalties still in Gaza? That is a problem for me. And again, I'm saying it probably in ways that you wouldn't say it, but it's just truth. You know, Michigan was lost because of apathy and because of people not having any loyalty to America.
Well, Dearborn, which is where my youngest child was born, is a great little city. I don't know what the voter turnout looked like there. I do know, looking at the maps that I've seen, that the pockets of blue are all around that area. And so they could also include Dearborn. I don't know that they don't, because the red is out here. It's the rest of the mitten. It is not the Metro Detroit area, and Dearborn is butts up against Detroit. So I don't know that to be true or not.
Or if they could have done better, if they hadn't been stuck
if they had
up
done better in Michigan, they have to done better with the white people. This was looking at the map. The pockets of blue were all in southeast Michigan. It was around Detroit area. The rest of the red is the middle of the state. You got a Lansing and Ypsilanti and up north.
But don't you have more people? Red. You know the Michigan landscape. Don't you have more people who, if they had been activated to vote in those urban cities, don't you have more of them than the rurals all combined, or at least equal? I mean, I'm asking. I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, Detroit itself is very populous. I mean, and there's over 800,000 Black people in the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
But I don't know the population of the entire state of Michigan. Michigan's big. There's an Upper Peninsula too, where
that's
you
pure
find
white.
there's a sprinkle, pure Michigan, pure white. But I will say that they dumped a lot of money into Michigan. Like they were Michigan. I was watching how many times they went there and how many people that I know there were engaged in activities to try to turn out the vote and to try to do, field programs and all of that. I saw so much happening in Michigan, in the southeast corner. Like I'm sure there's stuff happening otherwhere, but I don't know a lot of people in all the other areas. But it didn't work. Whatever the strategy and the plan was, it did not work. And so for me, the question is, what did they do? And then why didn't it work? What would need to be done differently?
I just told you.
But it has to be more immigrants. Dearborn is not a big place, and that's in southeast Michigan. What about the rest of the state?
The rest of the country feels, see, this is the thing. Democrats study things. Republicans feel things. Okay? It doesn't matter. You could live in an all-white town and you're tired of immigrants. Okay. And by immigrants, I don't mean people who come over. Okay. When I lived in LA, I was a limo driver and I used to go to work at 4 a.m. and I would have to drive by the government building where people applied to be citizens. That line at 4 a.m, rain, shine, whatever, would be a mile long. People would have their kids out there and people, they were all different colors and races and everything. You'd see people in the hijab. You'd see people, dressed like they just got here from some foreign land. And honestly, then you have people who just somehow get over here, you know what I mean? Illegally. And it's a vibe that Democrats don't understand. So I'm gay. Why is all of my gay existence conversations about trans issues, about puberty blockers? I don't even know what a puberty blocker is. And more importantly, I don't care. Okay, if I didn't know you, I wouldn't care about abortion because I wouldn't know about the healthcare stuff. And the Democrats did not educate me on the healthcare stuff. You did, So honestly and truly, it's a vibe that even in places that probably don't have one brown person, they still don't like it, and they feel like the Democrats are allowing people to come in. I go back to my auntie. Don't get her started on all these effing immigrants. And she's a hardcore Kamala supporter, you know? So that is, Democrats have to stop. How do you put this? Democrats need to figure out who their base is, because obviously the people they were going for, them hoes ain't loyal.
There's that. Because what that makes me think about is that there has to be some liars out there who said that they were for her and then got into the voting booth and were not, because the numbers to me are just astronomical. I didn't expect this.
The Tom Bradley effect, where you say you don't want to appear to be a racist, you don't want to appear to be a fascist, so you say one thing and you go vote another. That's forever whenever there's a female or a candidate of color. You know, Barack Obama is the only one who's truly beat through that. I had hoped that Kamala would. I think she would have made an absolutely excellent president, and she would have really changed the mood of the country. But we have to go through hell to get to heaven.
And that's similar to what she said in her speech today, her concession speech.
We're going to learn.
Well, and so what makes me wonder now is, what should we expect next? How do we move in what is getting ready to come forward? But actually, first, before we even get to that, one thing I was thinking about is, it's not often, I didn't do the research before we started talking, how many sitting vice presidents win
it's
the
very seldom.
Presidency. It very seldom happens. It didn't happen with Al Gore. I know that. And, and it didn't happen with Joe Biden. Biden didn't get it until after Trump had won.
And that was a circumstantial thing even then. It's very rare. So she was up against that historical fact from the beginning. And I agree with you. It's more than time. Even Mexico has a female president at this point.
Right.
So, for us, it's just, Americans are, I was going to say hateful, and that's not the right word. Americans are very backwards on so many things. I do want to bring up one other thing. This is dire, but we have not thought about what's going to happen in Ukraine. Trump is going to give that country to the Russians. Trump is probably going to remove all the sanctions on the Russians. Everybody is then going to do this gold rush to Russia. Everybody, all the corporations are going to run to Russia and make all the money that they haven't been able to make these last few years because of Russia attacking Ukraine. NATO will be decimated. Russia will feel confident in attacking one of the small NATO countries, and Trump's going to let it happen. We've seen this before with Hitler. We know how that ended. I honestly and truly believe that if Trump survives more than 6 months in the office, that we are in for a major problem worldwide. And when I say 6 months in office, I don't believe for 1 minute that they're going to let Trump complete his term. That's why they brought in J.D. Vance. The billionaires picked J.D. Vance, and everybody in the Republican Party is sick of Trump. They're sick of having to bend the knee to him, and they probably can't wait for him to go. He's obviously declining mentally. They're going to get rid of him somehow. He may pull a Joe Biden and say, for the good of the country, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to get a couple more.
Why do you think that nobody talks about his, what seems like cognitive decline?
Well, it's just like with Kamala. She has a full set of plans. She has actual policy proposals, and they still say, we don't know about her. There is something about Trump. There are people who just come along ever so often that get away with murder. Hitler got away with everything until he didn't. And Trump's about to get away with everything right now. All his court cases are going away. Jack Smith is already wrapping up the investigations.
I saw that, months and months ago when they said they weren't reopening the cases in Georgia. And I'm like, I don't understand why. And then Bannon got out of prison just days before the election. Yeah. Like, this feels like a movie, and it feels like I'm in the Truman Show or something.
But there's no Expendables to come and save us, because the call is coming from within the House. I don't understand the Russia thing in the sense that I don't understand how they have something on everyone. I also don't think it's about money for the average senator or whatever, because you can't hide as much money as they have to give all of these people. So I don't get it. Like, I don't get it.
I think Elon's got something to do with it.
Well, I think Elon is a puppet too, but he's a megalomaniac racist. That is another problem. Right now, Robert F. Kennedy says on day one, they're going to get rid of fluoride in water. Well, that is a huge problem, because all of a sudden, not now, but 10 years from now, American kids are going to have cavities like nobody's business. You know, all of the regulations are going to go. Electric cars are going to disappear, even though that's Elon's thing, because he's going to switch over to something else. You know, so it's bad. It's bad. And yeah, nobody talks about that. But Trump said how many decades ago he could shoot somebody in Fifth Avenue and not lose a vote.
Times Square.
That's something about him that Bill Clinton had Teflon. Trump has titanium. I don't know.
Welcome back to American Dreams, Reproductive Justice.
Silhouettes of a hustler, iceberg slim in my pen. The game unfolds like black exploitation on film. She's lost and turned out. Olivia's still turning tricks for clowns who stumble trying to play both sides of the track. Similar to melted 45s on wax. You young Macs really need to get your together.
And so I want this to be more of a conversation, right? Think of it less as an interview and just a conversation. You telling me about your life and your experiences.
My question would be, are you really ready for these answers?
I'd like to introduce you to
Sincere Al Talay. I am 52.
My name is Alvin C. Hill IV. I'll be 40 in October.
My name is Philip Sample. I am 48.
I really want the lives of these three men to be told directly from them. So over the course of this episode, their stories will weave their separate life experiences back and forth, starting from the late 1970s to today, into a world that ultimately brings them together.
You know, I think in starting this conversation, it feels to me, well, I want to say that this isn't, to me, it's not a Republican Democrat sort of conversation. There's that piece to it. This is about a Trump conversation, because I think that there could be a mighty fine Republican who could run the country or be in office, in whatever office, right? I think that there are Republicans who
Chris Christie I'd vote for,
who have the values to that want to lead us into a better space, and has the intellectual capacity to understand the economics of things, but also the social ills of things and all of that. I think that is so totally possible. And because I think it's less about party altogether. But specifically with Trump, though, it kind of boggles my mind, because I can understand people thinking about their circumstance and their pocketbook issues, their kitchen table conversations, like what issues matter to them most. I can see that being how they lead and how they go into the voting booth. But at the same time, I don't know how you hold him and say, well, he's going to do this for me, and I can ignore all of the other things. I just feel like we should not be in a place where we ignore the packaging just because something good might come of it, and I might get something out of it, because there's no collective of the community. What's good for the whole community, not just me individually.
Okay, there's the problem. That I was going to bring that up. Americans are selfish. It's part of our thing. My land, my rights, my this, my that. That's why we don't have a great public transportation system, because I want to drive my car. We also have to look at the main reason that we have this problem right now is the media. The media, and I'm not saying the press, the media is the enemy of the people. The corporation media is the enemy of the people. They have let this man, ever since they found out that he was good for ratings, they've run with it. The last few weeks, when he wasn't getting any attention, that's when he started acting crazy, and the media took it. What is it? Line and sinker. They hook, line, and sinker. All of a sudden, we weren't talking about Project 2025 anymore, which had people really worried. Now it's off the table. People forgot all about that, and the average person was talking about it. The media switched the subject. When she got too popular and there was only one narrative, the media switched the subject. It's just that simple.
Who told the media to switch the subject?
The corporate, I hate to sound like one of those people, but the corporations, the people at the top, they're all Republicans. It's just like football teams. They all own black people, and what are they? All give money to Trump. The corporations, we have a problem with corporations in this world, but especially in this country. And honestly and truly, it's going to come to a head. La Liberté is coming. Maybe not in our lifetime, but it's coming. There's only so long that you can keep doing this to people and keep taking away people's jobs with automation and all that stuff. I mean, the movie Metropolis from 1929, that movie tells you everything you need to know. The rich people who live up above us all automate everything, and the only people with jobs left are the people who fire the coals to make the machines work. And they have no rights, and they're treated like crap. Unfortunately, in order to get to that point, you have to let it get to that point. Germany in the 30s, they saw all this bad stuff happening. Hitler came up, and look at what happened. It's just but also BMW, Mercedes, the people who make the guns, I forget, Krupp, who now make our espresso machines, Krupp. Okay, all of those were corporate.
The Keurig machine.
Yeah, the same. These corporations existed in Germany before Hitler. They supported Hitler because Hitler promised them freedom to do whatever they wanted. All they had to do in return was make weapons for Hitler, which Hitler was forbidden to do. So the corporations always look out for themselves. They don't look out for the people. And that's where we are right now. The media companies realized that Trump was good for ratings. He went away for 4 years. They could have stopped covering him. They could have been talking about issues, but issues bring up inequality. Inequality riles up the folks. They vote Democrat, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm checking out. You have been telling me forever about how shady politics are. You've been telling me this. You've been telling me what horrible people they are, people who are involved in politics as far as the venal ones. I'm done because I watched it this time. I've known it. I've said it for years. This way that they ignore blacks and gays, of which I am both. And the way they ignore people who are, you can't be a Democrat and have any ideas that don't go in the Democratic set of rules. I'm done. If it weren't for the homophobia and racism, I probably would be a Republican, but the homophobia and racism are there. So there's never a chance of that happening. But I can also just not care anymore. I've spent the entire day making sure that I don't accidentally see anything political. And I'm going to keep it that way for a while because I can't care anymore. And so they've won. They've made me not be able to care anymore. Both systems. They didn't let ranked choice voting get in, That would have been something that might have given us a little feeling like we had some power. And both parties shot it down. So
but voter ID passed.
Yeah, voter ID passed. I'm surprised the slavery thing passed. But honestly and truly, and let's go local now that I'm on this box, the state Democratic Party, led by a black woman, did nothing in the black community during this election. If the campaign hadn't come through, they wouldn't have done anything. I run the only black political Democratic organization in the freaking state. And because of personal issues, they wouldn't let people come to our meetings. They didn't give us any support, even though our meetings were packed. And the candidates, I voted for Jackie Rosen, but I've never seen her at a black event other than yours. That was once, maybe twice I've seen her at black events, and she barely beat somebody who should have been easily beaten.
Yeah, it actually hasn't been called yet.
Yeah, because it was so tiny. And I
It's
got to
so
tell you,
close, and right now he's winning. As
so
of this recording,
if
right now he's winning. I'm gonna look while you're talking.
yeah, if we lose that race, it's because of the failures of the party of the state. When the progressives won over the state party, they immediately cleaved off and set up a separate Vichy party in Washoe County instead of working with the progressives and maybe having built up a progressive army to work with the establishment that could have done something for Jackie Rose in this election season. But they didn't. So they've cut out everybody that they don't like personally. They screwed over the progressives, and here we are. And here we are. And thank God both of our senators weren't up. So I think it's a huge shame on Nevada if we contribute to the Senate going red.
Right now it's showing on the state election site that Jackie Rosen has 606,683 votes. And Sam Brown has 610,550. So his percentage is 47.37 and hers is 47.07.
Jesus.
So that's
a lot. That's a huge.
That is a lot of numbers right there. Well, about little over 3,000, it looks like, votes.
And when Judith Whitmer was in charge, a progressive, we did not have a red wave. We did quite well in a year when we shouldn't have. So yeah, there you go. But
I mean, so it's quite possible we end up with a Republican senator, and
that's a shame on Nevada.
And so far, Trump has won Nevada. It's not Denton County either. And so we went from being
Harry Reid.
Nevada went from being a blue state, a purple state. It was always a little purple, right?
No, we got blue. We got blue during
we got pretty
term.
Blue. We got pretty blue with Biden and all of that. And even before Obama, we were blue. And so now it doesn't seem to be that way. And so many races, barely eked out a win. Susie Lee, Congresswoman Susie Lee, has barely eked out a win.
And Dallas
Even
Harris lost hers.
Was close.
Yeah.
State Senator Dallas Harris. We also had a couple of others, I think, that were just even Dita Titus was pretty close.
Yeah.
It was a lot closer than what I have seen in the past.
And
for
Twix
her
lost.
In particular.
Twix lost to a MAGA.
Did he? I don't think, did he? You should
look it up.
Okay, I'll take a look.
As of yesterday.
I don't know. I'm going to look that up before, because I saw congratulations all over Facebook, so I'm not sure.
Okay, but well, I hope I'm wrong, because I like him.
To look at the county and see Clark County. And I'll get to that. But so I'm going to look while we're talking to see what is what with that particular race.
For the party of Harry Reid to have screwed up this bad is embarrassing.
But do you think that, so when you say that you're out, does that mean that you become an independent?
Oh,
is that an option?
You know what? I don't know that I care anymore about any of it. I think my focus.
But you're still going to vote.
Yeah, but my focus is going to be community work. Helping the community out. The political system is so broken. They have finally broken me, Mr. Politics. And I'm not. The way I know that I'm serious about this is I'm not mad. Last night I was very sad. I was sad because they're now all the pundits are going to say, it was because she's a woman. It's because she's it's because she's a black woman. And they're not going to address the fact that our entire system is broken. So I felt so bad for her because she didn't ask for this. She was thrust into it. She did an amazing job. And I don't want to see anybody down her in any way whatsoever, but that also is indicative of the problem. I'm scared to watch TV because I don't want to see them talking crap about a woman who did her best to save the world, you know? So I don't feel invested in the political process anymore. I just don't.
Yeah. Right now, I have for Robert Taylor, who is known as Twix, that he has 49.89, and the opponent, Ruth Anderson Garcia, 50.11. So yeah, that may be done. But our girl Tamika Henry is in her seat.
Did Camilla lose? I think Camilla lost.
Camilla Bywaters lost. We saw her last night at our party before the announcement. But yeah, she did not make it through.
Again, where was the party for her? We hear so much about supporting Black women from the Black women at the top. And throughout this entire election season, they've done nothing but attack other Black women and not support Black women. So I'm disenchanted with the system.
And the school board is something we really need to pay attention to, because the folks that did not win, the ones that did, they're involved with Moms for Liberty, which, if people aren't aware of what Moms for Liberty is, that is a very conservative group, and they spearhead a lot of the conversations around book bannings and
anti-racism. They want anything to do with racism.
In the schools.
They have no problem with removing anything to do with teaching about racism, slavery, LGBT. They want it all gone. And
it also looks like Shannon Bilbray. Axelrod did not win the seat for county commission.
Yeah. Which is sad, because regardless of the Bilbray family, what one thinks or not, they're an old Nevada family. Everyone who won is a MAGA. So now we've got MAGA on the county commission.
So what was the strategy, right? Because this was more than just Trump winning. This is
MAGA.
It's MAGA, but it feels also like we have an entire large population of people who are sick and tired. They are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they don't want nothing to do with nobody that has anything to do with any of the things that have currently been in place, like not from the school board onto county commission, to state seats, to federal seats, to the presidency. Like, that's a lot of animosity.
No, it's not animosity. The Republicans have stuck to a narrative that our streets are full of crime, illegal immigrants, Black people don't take out the racism. Black people got uppity. Every time that we get uppity, Reconstruction, Black Wall Street, civil rights, Black Lives Matter, something comes along, and it does whatever it does to white people. I'm not a white person, so I can't understand it. But they had the added turbocharging of the fact that immigrants don't like Black people. They are taught in their home countries that we're the lowest of the low. And honestly and truly, you combine that racism, the white people thinking that DEI is coming for them and the woke virus is coming for them. And you know what? And the Democratic Party is talking about providing puberty blockers. It's not something people care about. And abortion. It sounds like the Democratic Party is going, well, everybody should be able to run out and get a baby sucked out of them. That's not what people want to hear. I can't afford salmon for my mom. That's what happened. We're so focus grouped, and we're so 501c. So, to my opinion, the 501c3 industrial complex runs the Democratic Party. Or no, they're a symbiotic, incestuous relationship, in the sense that you've got these activists, like you said, who haven't touched ground in years, talking about things that the average person doesn't care about. Honestly and truly. I'll talk the homeless situation. Most people want the homeless gone. Okay. And that's really messed up. But yesterday, the county commission had a hearing on making being homeless criminal, and nobody was there to advocate for the homeless. Why? Because people don't really have a problem with it.
That's not true. Make It Work was there.
No, Make It Work. Exactly. You guys
Make
were
It
there.
Work was we had.
You were there. I saw a few people there. Yeah, I saw a few.
Was there,
and Ashanti McGee was there. But what I'm saying is that is not on the top. If you are, how do you put it? The Democratic Party and activists are always advocating for things that don't affect them. So, for instance, when you say things like unhoused, that sounds so stupid. And, it just sounds stupid. It sounds like, what? Because if you ask a homeless person what they are, they'll say homeless. The little signs don't say, I'm unhoused, help me, give me $1. They say I'm homeless.
There is a big trend of calling things something else so it sounds sweeter.
Right, but then you take away the pain. You take away the pain.
You may take away the pain, but you also, you spend so much time trying to be politically correct or trying not to hurt anybody's feelings that you studied that so long, you haven't studied the problem.
Right. And if you say illegal aliens, then there's pushback. I get where you're coming from, and you're right. Illegal aliens is specifically said to make people scared, but it's what people say. I'm not saying that we should go back to just calling Black people the N-word or coloreds, but I am saying that there are some things. Know your battles and fight them correctly. Unhoused,
like
BIPOC, Latinx. You talk to every single Latinx person, and they say, "Don't call me that." The only ones who say it are activists. When I first got into this, I've told you the story about being in the Tennessee mountains. I went to a thing in the Tennessee mountains at the Highlander Center, and the people were insufferable. They were the first wave of woke, and they were insufferable. And you had to wait in line till the vegans ate first, and you had to say everything the correct way and the pronouns and all this stuff. And finally, I said, I've had enough. We were sitting in this room, and I grabbed a bag of potato chips, and I was going to go outside and take a walk in the woods. And this guy said to me, "You can't do that." And I lost it. I was like, before I was done, I had said people needed to shave their underarms, and I was sick of all their crap, and the vegans got on my nerves, and blah, blah, blah. And when I was done, the guy said to me, "Are you done?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You take that bag out there, a bear can smell that at 600 yards. And I went, "Oh." And nobody talked to me for 2 days afterwards. But
you had your breakdown.
I had my breakdown over all of this, the wokeness of it all, because they took it too far.
Well, there's a difference for me of what woke is and thinking about. To me, woke is exactly what it says. It's being awake to what is happening around you and being able to see it clearly, being able to feel it and being affected by it and not shutting down and putting blinders.
But are you really affected by pronouns? Are you really affected by they, them, thou?
No. I'm not talking about that. I personally am not. I don't want to be called a man. I don't want anybody to call me a man, but I can understand if somebody identifies one way, they want to be called by that and say the thing, whatever it is. I do understand it, but I don't even consider that in the woke space. I think maybe some people do.
But the average person
for me,
does.
It's about being woke. It's about realizing that stuff is on fire and it's affecting all of us, and we need to do something about it collectively, because even if you're not feeling it at this moment, you will be, because we have to wake up to seeing what's happening, not just here in our house or even in our neighborhood, but what is happening in other countries, because there are ripple effects back and forth. The things, even when it came to talking about abortion bans, that's not strictly American. That they were talking about the same thing in Italy. They were talking about it in the UK.
Yeah, there's a fascist
Ireland.
network. Yeah.
These are things that were rippling effect back and forth. Someone's got ideas and then other people catch on. No different with states. We might do something in one state and then next, another state is modeling language and legislation off of what they did in that state.
Our school books come from Texas. Our school books come from what the Texas Department of Education wants, because they order the most books. So yeah, but also, Erica, tell me this. What do you think of this? Religion. What do you think? What do you think
What do you mean?
that
What do
play?
I think?
The role of Christo-fascism, which is a very, trendy word to say, but it's
Is that a
true.
woke word?
It's very woke. No, I think it's more intellectual, egghead, pointy geek stuff. But yeah, the Christians are all over the world. They're all over Africa, and they are bound and determined to either give us end of days or a Christian theocracy. They basically are the Islamist of Christianity, for lack of a better word. They're terrorists. They are the whole bit.
I don't actually know a whole lot about that, to be completely honest with you. But what I'll say about religion specifically is that I I feel like there is no actual separation of church and state, as much as
Nope.
they like to claim that it is, and they, as in the government, the people, like it's on our money. People are praying, or talking about God. You can't have a candidate not talk about God, because if they
Yeah.
don't talk about God, then it's just like, oh, are you an atheist? What's wrong with you? Like, it's a part of the rhetoric. We need
And
to
it's
know
a
what your
Christian
religion is,
God.
and they have to go to churches. That's true.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know that we'd ever get a Muslim or a Buddhist president, or
And I would so
even
much rather have a
even
Buddhist.
even a senator. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even know if we get if we would get a Muslim senator here. The fact that you have Ilhan Omar in Minnesota
And they
as
hate her.
a Muslim, but she wins her
Yeah.
seat.
Because of her
She
immigrant
does win her
community.
seat of her community, and she's thinking about the entire community and
Yeah.
not just herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everybody has an affinity
It's
group, I guess,
when
to a
I say
certain
religion,
degree.
I guess I should say Christians. And I'm not bashing Christians, because I think it goes back to I have no problem with Republicans. I have a problem with MAGA. I have no problem with Christians. I have a problem with Christian theocracists, the ones who, the extreme. Just like I have no problem with Democrats, but the extreme Democrats, it's the extremities. Most people are in the middle. And I think most
Yeah.
people can be met in the middle, but we've allowed, for one thing, the two-party system. Ranked choice voting would have really helped a lot, I think.
I couldn't understand why more people didn't want it, and didn't understand why
Because
it couldn't be greater. But because I also think ranked choice voting will lead to removal of the electoral college at some point. I feel like that it's a domino effect to get there. And that's what people want. A lot of people, anyway, would like to get rid of the electoral
And
college,
it
because it's
works.
hard to understand, and it doesn't make sense at
It
this
doesn't make
point in
sense.
our
And look,
life.
Trump won the popular vote last night. So we don't need the electoral college. Trump won the popular vote. So, but it's and gerrymandering. Just have policies. Even without gerrymandering, he would have won last night. Maybe the Senate and or maybe Congress seats would be different, but we don't need those things. But the parties do, because it makes them money. It makes the consultocracy money. It's a effed up system, and I'm really over it. If ranked choice voting had gone through, I seriously had considered that I would run for office, because I think I could be enough people's second or third choice. I might have a chance. But under this system, whoever goes up against the party, whatever party it is, Democrat or Republican, is immediately bombarded, carpet bombed with things like, your past history, or, nasty flyers and things like that. So, yeah, there
was so much money spent in this election. Like, I don't know what the final numbers are, but it feels like the amount of money that was spent on this election between Trump and Kamala, we could have solved a problem or two.
We could have solved several problems. We could have solved homelessness, at least in, the major cities. But yeah, that's not what it's about. MSNBC, leading up to the election, was so pro Kamala. This morning, the part that skipped through before I could get it off my radio in the car, they were talking about where she messed up, and they had the opportunities she missed. And I'm like, you don't care about the country.
Oh yeah, because I even saw something as they were doing a like how did we get here moment, and they said Kamala had a hot mic moment where she was talking to Governor Whitmer.
Yeah, about how they had a problem with white men or something. Yeah.
Well, they didn't even say they had a problem. They said we have to mobilize white men on the ground. And so I was like, how was that a hot mic moment? That sounded like two people talking about strategy on saying
whereas
things that
Trump
have
is
to
giving
be
head to a
done.
microphone stand. Okay. And the Epstein tapes came out 2 days before, and nobody talked about the Epstein tapes. You know?
So is the media bought?
Yeah. The media is owned. The media owns this. At the end of the day, the billionaire class has
So why should we watch MSNBC or
I'm
CNN?
not anymore. You know what? I'm done. Because for one thing, you don't get any news. You know, and they as soon as they go to a break, they bring back the panel to discuss. And it's the same. Claire McCaskill. Okay. Wow. During Black Lives Matter, during the midterms, she made it a point to say that the Democrats needed to make Black Lives Matter go away because it was going to hurt us in the midterms. And now she's a respected, I've hated her ever since. And now she's a respected MSNBC analyst. CNN has on some of the most vile Republican commentators in appearance of being fair and balanced because they want some of that Fox money. But none of them talk about the news. You know, what do you know about the fact that the King and Queen of Spain just got mud thrown on them at the site of the floods because the people are fed up?
I didn't. I knew about the floods, but I didn't know about the flinging of the mud.
Yeah, the King and Queen showed up and the people attacked them. Like literally the Queen was crying and her face was covered in mud. You don't know about that.
No, and I believe you because there was something happening in an African country. This was probably earlier this year. It might have been Congo. I don't remember, but I was following it for a little while because it was like a coup was happening. And in a part of the family that was in charge, that they had been kidnapped. And they were kidnapped in their own house and being held. And there were other members of the family who were somewhere in the UK or whatever. And so I never heard anything else about it. It just sort of went away to the point like I trying to figure out how to Google it to figure out what I was reading and where it came from. But this is why I think I read The Guardian more than anything.
Guardian
I feel like I
listen to
get
the
more
BBC.
information.
Yeah,
I get more information that way.
And another thing about the US, look at Africa. Africa is being taken over by the Chinese. And the corporations are going along with it with child labor in the mines and the lithium and all this stuff. That's not on the news. We don't, it's the media. There's a James Bond movie where Terry Garr is the girl who gets killed. And it's all about this. And that was 20 years ago. And it's dead on, and Idiocracy is 30 years ago. And Idiocracy is coming true. I look at people on their phones now. And I think, what happens when the government starts broadcasting constantly something on those phones? People don't know how to put their phones down. They may put it in an entertaining way, but it's only a matter of time. Elon and his stupid cars, he can shut those cars down anytime he wants. He could track where you are. You are an activist. You might be going someplace the government doesn't want you to go. Your car can shut you down. The world is coming towards a revolution, in my opinion. It may not be in our lifetimes, but it's gonna happen. It has to happen. Simple as that.
Yeah, and this is where I think about people talking about if I was in that time, I wouldn't have let it happen. Whether it was slavery or the Holocaust or any other war. Or even segregation, you're like, oh, I would have stood up. I would have said something. I would have did that because hindsight is 20/20, right? And so there's all these things happening right now, and there's no groundswell of urgency around the majority of them. As you talk about all of this stuff, the phones, and we're all stuck to our phones to some degree. Some of us more than others, but most of us, I have noticed recently going out to dinner randomly, and I'll look and I'll see couples and they're on their phone, not talking to each other. Right. They're on their phones, and they may show each other like, oh, how you see this sort of thing, but they're not sitting and having conversations. I'm like, are you on a date?
That's the vast majority of people when you look at them. The vast
And
majority.
it's crazy to me. When I go out to dinner with somebody, I really want to talk to you. Like, I want to have a conversation and enjoy the food. And it's not so much that I'm never on my phone, because I also like take pictures of my food and all of that. But
No,
I'm
you're
not
actually
posting them there.
you're pretty good about that. And your influence makes me the same. But I go out with, younger people, and it's a constant. And when I drive people for Uber, couples get in the car and they're both on their phone the whole time. And I'm like, you're not even watching the same thing. And all these kids, they don't know about watching the news at night. They have no idea what that means to
6
sit
o'clock
down.
nightly news with Tom Brokaw.
Right. Yeah, they have Baba Wawa. They don't know. So yeah, the world is a really messed up place right now. I have no faith in it. I do have faith in individuals. And the people who say they would have stood up, if that was the case, why do we know about Harriet Tubman? Why do we know about John Brown? Why do we know about Rosa Parks? Because so few people stood up. So that is not a thing.
What does your American dream look like?
I'm already living the dream. I got out of prison. I came home. I got myself together. So whatever the dream is, I can't lie, I'm not focused on the dream because I'm still going through the process. So I'm not trying to go back to what I came from.
My version of the American dream, when I was in the streets, it was a little different, but now I realize that it's freedom. Freedom in time, freedom in space, and the freedom financially to be able to do what I want to do as far as myself and the people around me, and as far as the community and the world.
We should be able to exist without having to survive. We should have housing. We should have education. We should have free healthcare. So that would be my American dream.
You're listening to American Dreams, Reproductive Justice.
So what do you think 2025 is going to look like?
I'll tell you what mine will look like. I'm focusing on me. I'm focusing on ignoring all of this because I tried to tell you, we tried, y'all didn't listen. So now you're going to get what you deserve. And I worry more about JD Vance than Donald Trump. I worry more about Elon Musk than Donald Trump, but I can't worry about them anymore. I can't, because obviously I'm not in the majority. And one thing I will say about us Democrats, Donald Trump won the election fair and square. Period. I'm okay with that. I don't like that he won, but I'm okay. He did it. He didn't,
I don't know that he won it fair and square. I'm not necessarily saying well, no, I guess I am saying it. I'm saying that I do have doubts that he won it fair and square. Not to say that there aren't a lot of people who believe that he is the person to be president, but I also feel like adding Elon Musk into the fold adds this space of him with all that money, because the $1 million giveaway,
which turns out to have been staged. It was staged too. The people were pre-picked. But you know what? A dirty win is a win. And the thing is, he did win the popular vote.
That's not fair and square.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, you still go home with the trophy. It's how it works. And again, it goes back to the billionaires. Elon Musk bought Twitter to make sure nobody knew anything but what they heard from him through Donald Trump. So, and the Saudis helped, there's an evil cabal of people who, for whatever reason, want to end humanity as we know it.
Elon Musk is an evil person.
He really is.
Rubbing his hands together.
Gleefully.
Yes. And has all of these sinister ideas on things that need to, so that they benefit him.
And he's a eugenicist. He's a eugenicist. He firmly believes that Black people are inferior, and it's aimed, and so much this is aimed at Black people. The Chinese who are taking over Africa there are factories in Africa where you have to come out and do like a morning routine that is basically swearing your loyalty to the company, not to your country, but to the company. And the company is owned by Chinese. There's an anti-human factor, and none of it is good for Black people. And look at Black entertainment. You got Black women running around talking about put it in my guts and, all of the things, and trap music and all this stuff. You don't have any of that for white people. You don't have any of that for Latin people. You don't have any of that for Asian people, but you do for us. There's an anti-Blackness that goes on in the world, and a lot of this election was based on that, and it brings us right back to where I started with immigration.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. What do Black people do about it?
You know what? Resegregate ourselves. It's like what Dr. Sonia Morgan, her book about learning in a burning house or whatever it's called. What's it called? The house is on fire. Oh, I got it right.
Learning in a burning house.
Yeah. At some point, we just got to do our own thing, because people
I don't think she was talking about like.
Well, she was saying that the effects of segregation can be seen today in that it disjointed Black communities. I was talking to somebody the other day whose family has been in West Las Vegas forever. And I said to her, do you think desegregation is part of the problem with what happened? And she looked and she goes, you know what? Before that, when we had to be together, you had a doctor living on the same street as the garbage man, as the postman. You didn't have, everybody looked at each other's kids because
you had to have a whole community, because one, that's the only place you could live, but then you had to have people who did a multitude of things.
Right.
So you could get everything you need, kind of like a Walmart.
Right. And honestly, maybe we need to Walmart ourselves again. But for us, and I have so many things I'm not going to talk about that would really get me canceled as far as racist stuff. But yeah, I think that
I don't know that we need to be fully segregated from each other. What I do think, though, is that we do need to have a collective pride for our community. And that's missing in a lot of ways. And because of what I don't know is that if any particular group, if they just all stayed together, that they would flourish and be great. Because
they do,
there's but no, they don't.
Yeah, they
don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. Because I've talked to Asian folks who've talked about, the fractions within the community between the different groups
Filipinos
of
versus
Asians
Chinese versus
right. And
Vietnamese.
So, but people lump them all together and think that they all just get along in some sort of way. And so, and not to say, and again, this is all very blanketed sort of conversation. So everybody is different and individual.
We should be doing better though, because we don't have those divisions. We're Black.
But we do have divisions, because there's the people who then there's that vibe check of how Black are you?
Yeah.
And are you really Black if you didn't grow up in the hood? And are you Black if you are mixed in some sort of way? Or are you Black if you are an immigrant and coming in? Are you an immigrant from Africa or an African country, I should say? Or if you are Black from the islands? Because I feel like I've always turned around and somebody is questioning somebody's Blackness in a way like you can take it away from them. And as long as there is this space of, I can take this away from you, then we're not actually unified.
I think that we could be unified easierly than some of those. Because that's not a word. But yeah, I do think that, I don't know. I just think that, for instance, if you have a bunch of Asian people living in an area, what's it called? Chinatown. If you have Koreans living in a neighborhood that's Koreatown, Italians, Little Italy. What do you call where Black people live? The hood, the ghetto. Negative connotations. We gotta reclaim, because
there's Africatown in Alabama. I think it's Mobile.
Well,
yeah,
and notice that's Africatown. That's not where Black people live. That's probably a lot of immigrants there. Because I highly doubt they were
Black people. No, it's Black people.
And they call it Africatown.
Yeah, it's based off of Catilda, where the Catilda was found. One of the last known slave ships that came in years after slavery was abolished.
So it's a tourist thing.
And so, no, it's not a tourist thing. That the tourists can go, obviously, but no, it was already, this is what they called it. This is what they called it, Africatown. And a lot of folks are direct descendants of these people, and they're less removed from slavery than a lot of other people. And is there like a small museum and all of that? Yes. You can go there and you can take a boat ride and see the area where the ship was found, where it was burned. And there's a documentary about it on Netflix. Wow. But it's not based on immigrants. It's based on Black folks in Alabama.
Right. And I don't want to come off as anti-immigrant because I just recently went to that African festival and it was amazing. And I love the fact that they were celebrating their culture and stuff. But what I am saying is we have to be aware of what people think who normally would be Democrats and who are silenced and shunned if they even have an opinion that is outside of the intersectionality of it all. That's what I'm saying.
Can we get away from the two-party system?
Yeah, we have to. Can we? I don't think so. Should we? Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, they're entrenched. That's why they don't want ranked choice voting, because that would lead to more of a parliamentary type decision making. And once people learn that there's other ways, then that leads open to something else, into something else, into something else. And you can't look at how many billions of dollars they spent. That money went to certain groups, period. And
I looked it up. They said they were expecting the total cost to be $15.9 billion. And it surpasses the 2020 cycle's record of $15.1 billion. Billion with a B.
Or as Elon Musk calls it, I made that on Wednesday. Yeah, that's wow. That's shameful. That is shameful because
it is.
That's enough money to give every poor family making under poverty some money and lift them out of poverty, or that's enough to pay for everybody's
and not lift them out of poverty for a year with a stimulus check. Like that's long-term money that could be used and invested in investment accounts for people that they would be able to pull from and still have money working in the system.
Which would benefit Wall Street, to be honest.
Yeah. It benefit everybody because when people have money, they spend money also.
Which is why the stimulus package. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's disgusting. But again, that makes me care less and less about the political system, because if you can raise that kind of money for that.
And this is on both sides. This is total.
Yeah. That's what I'm. If the Democrats can raise that kind of money, let's say it's split evenly down the middle. If they can raise that kind of money, that's morally wrong, I think, and for Kamala to have had her entire run in 3 months means that it doesn't have to be a 2-year thing. The minute the election is over, you start the new one.
Well, they had a lot of money when they started. But
they did. But what I'm saying is for her, she showed that she could run an entire campaign.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We could just start it in June.
Yeah.
We could start in June and end in November and be done. We don't need to drag it out.
No, they do that in England. England, I think it's a 6-week period that you can campaign, and that's it. So this is that number.
Get rid of the fatigue that way for sure.
Yeah, that and the voter apathy. Also, why don't we have Election Day be a national holiday, a paid holiday? Why don't we have automatic registration? Because the power elites don't want people voting. It's just it's awful.
And that's important. That's an important thing to underline, because there are still plenty of people who believe their vote doesn't count.
Yeah.
So when you look at races like the Senate race in Nevada, that is so close right now, every vote counts. It always counts, but people still have that voter apathy and thinking
people in California don't think they have to vote. Respect. People in California don't think they have to vote because it's solidly blue until one day it's not. Like Orange County, which is a center of immigration, is Republican now. So Democrats need to wake up. That's all.
Last question.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to something you said. You said that the nonprofit industrial complex, that it is, I don't know if you said a mirrored of the party or a arm of the party. I don't remember
it's I've always said that it's a PR firm for the Democratic Party.
Yes. And to some respects, that is true. I have seen it, working firsthand, that folks are supposed to be nonpartisan. We're supposed to be nonpartisan, all of us. And I'm grouping everybody together because it's how the system works.
Yeah.
But it's basically to help Democratic folks either keep their seats or win their seats or what have you, or people with those same progressive values. That is very much a true
statement. It's to
even when you don't try to do it, because you don't have to coordinate, you don't have to do all the things, you can follow all the rules.
But then you don't get no money.
But you don't, because the underlying ask is always, where are you doing the work? And, are you doing work in certain areas that have hot button issues and seats happening? Because otherwise no one asks you to go or gives you money and say, oh, you know what? I don't care where you actually use it. Or
they don't care about the actual issue.
Well, I think some care about the issue, but I don't know that I don't know if, I think it's a way to filter money through to make things happen. And so it's for the good of somebody else, maybe not particularly the org or the people that they are trying to organize.
It's a way to kill somebody without having your fingers on the body. Basically, it's like saying that there's a non-coordinated campaign when everybody knows you coordinate. Like PACs don't coordinate. PACs coordinate every single day. I've been in PACs. One of the things is, and I'm going to take you to one time. I have friends at Americans for Prosperity, run by the Koch brothers. That place, you go in there, and I've always said this: you go into one of their Black meetings, they have chafing dishes. Now that sounds like something that doesn't matter, but they have fresh food in chafing dishes for the Black meetings, and the Black meetings are packed. You go into La Libre meetings, which is run by them. They all have T-shirts they're given. They're all told about the possibilities of America and how they can all make money and be white. That's what they do over there. Democrats throw a bunch of Little Caesars pizza at you and then shame you if you don't agree with everything. And they don't tell you anything about the possibilities of the future. They just tell you what to be mad about. Okay. And not mad like Republicans are mad. They teach you that if you're not for illegal immigration or sanctuary cities, then you're not a good Democrat. Republicans are teaching people how to better their lives and not worrying about race. Of course, they're trying to erase race, but they have a message, and it's a long-term message that Democrats always seem like they're just trying to pick out what is the latest, as you said, hot button issue that we can therefore get power on. And it's so if it's sanctuary cities, which was the big thing, DACA is a perfect example. DACA is something that should have been a top priority for Democrats, and they shouldn't have let up on it. But once it became not the hot topic, it got pushed aside. There's no reason a DACA student or DACA person shouldn't be a citizen by now. And they're still not citizens. Why? Because it fell out of favor with the Democrats. Republicans have a goal and they stick to it. And then that's why abortion got taken away. That's why the school boards are being taken over. Democrats
because they have a long-term plan.
Because they believe in something. Democrats don't believe in stuff, not the party. There's nothing Democrats, the Voting Rights Act. We had 2 years to get that done. And our own Senate delegation, have you ever heard them talk about that? Never. That's a Black thing. They don't talk about it.
Well, and in that case, there would have been money coming into nonprofit organizations to lift up the voter ID question on the ballot.
That one there, that's not about immigrants. That's about Black people. That is specifically across the country about Black people, keeping Black people from voting because they say Black people don't have IDs. And honestly, if you're trying to explain to me why that's a bad thing, you're going to have a hard time explaining to me it's a bad thing. I have to show my ID just to go into a gated community to pick up someone with Uber. I have to show today. I had to show my ID last night at the election party to get a drink. Okay. So I understand that people don't have IDs, but then how are you doing stuff? How are you getting cigarettes? You have to show your ID. So I'm not saying it's a good policy, but I am saying it's a very hard thing to explain to somebody who has an ID. I've met tweakers back when I was a druggie. They never had IDs. And it was always the $12 and the time it took to get one. But they didn't have IDs.
Or having an address.
Right. But they didn't have IDs through something of their own. Homeless people don't have IDs, but homeless people don't vote. So we have to remove them from the conversation.
But they could vote.
But they don't. Let's be honest. So I'm saying it's hard to convince me as the average person that particular issue is a problem. And especially since the Republicans has framed it throughout the rest of the country where there's a lot of Black people as being, this will keep Black people from voting. I mean, the Democratic Party does not protect Black people. And that's sad because it's sort of all we got. That's how I feel. They don't protect Black women. They look at what they did in Alabama. Black women got rid of that pervert, and then they elected Jones. And then the first thing he did was say he was going to work with the very people who had fought against Black women. You know, that's the first thing he said. And Black women were like, wait a minute, fool. And that's in Alabama where we could have a lot of power. But the Democratic Party doesn't put any money in Alabama. You get all those Black people to vote. Yeah, I guarantee you. No. So in answer to the question, I'm done. I'm done with party politics. And that's sad because that means one less vote down the road. Who knows?
Well, I think it's a smart move to not associate as deeply into party politics as you have. And you obviously know how I feel about party. But the bigger picture of how we engage and how we educate and how we lift up the work that is being done at whatever level so that people understand and people feel educated and they don't come at something and say, what did anybody do when things might have been done? But then there's poor communication and there's poor outreach because there's no real communication arm with the White House to regular everyday people. And I've seen that happen over and over again. Right. And they don't disseminate it well or in a way that gets to the people it needs to get to. So there are a lot of things that I think that the Biden-Harris administration had done that might have changed some people's minds, not everybody, but some people, if they would have been more engaged. But in order to be more engaged, you've got to meet people where they are and you've got to not overload them and you've got to give them the information that they need and that they want. And I think that's the lift that's missing, for a lot of that. But as far as you being done, I think we'll circle back in a few months and see how you feel about that. I think that that's perfectly fine, though. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And again, because you're not saying that you're not going to vote. What you're saying is you're not going to involve yourself so deeply into the political party drama and nonsense.
And Karen, this world yesterday missed an opportunity to change and better the world. And I blame that on the Democrats because they haven't been listening to the rest of the country. They haven't been listening to 50% of the country for the last 4 years. They missed. Kamala will always be that one that you let get away. Simple as that. She will be the
because you're spinning the block and going back to your ex because you think that it wasn't as bad as you thought it was.
Or you could always do better. Or no, you're right. You're right. The good one that could have been yours forever. You could have had the best relationship.
But they were too nice.
Yeah. You had to go back to that heinous bee who took you through the ringer. But yeah, exactly.
Because they gave you a little money to get your nails did.
Your nails did, and they gave you enough fight that you felt like that they were fighting for you when they fought with you or at you. Or yeah. The world missed an opportunity at the best thing it ever had last night. And I hope the Democrats and the media doesn't spend time talking about what she did wrong because that woman was perfect.
And we'll end it right there.
Right there.
Thank you, Jarek. I appreciate you doing this last minute conversation so that we could figure out what happened, how we feel about it at this moment, and then later on, probably having a conversation on what the next few years are going to look like and how we move through whatever happens, because there will be things that happen. because of the people who have been elected, not just at the presidency level, but all the way down. With a majority of the House now red, what does that mean for policies that would directly affect any of us? Will there be some good ones? Maybe. Will there be some bad ones? Probably. And how do we push against what we need to push against, and how do we also, find some good in what's happening in life now? So I think those are questions I have right now to think about. And, I'll end with saying, I was sad. I saw it happening. I didn't have a lot of faith that we would get to that mountaintop, that promised land of having a Black woman as president. And it didn't happen. So I think I mourned that a little bit, especially this morning. And then I had to suck it up and figure out what's next. And I still feel like this weight, it feels sort of exhausting. I think I'm just exhausted from the season and the work.
Relieved
that we know
that's it's finally over.
I don't think I'm at a point of feeling relief, but I do think that point of relief will feel there. We'll get there. I'll get to that point of relief because I am glad to stop getting text messages. And I know that everybody hates getting the text messages. One reason that Make It Work Nevada does not do text messages, because I know that people get so mad at it, and I get mad at it. So there is a weight, I guess, a little bit that has been lifted in that way. And it's time to start thinking about what's next and what we want to do and how we want to do it, and how we think about what we've done in the past that just don't work, so we can do something different. We got to do things differently. We got to think about things differently. We've got to strategize differently, and we got to figure out who our allies are and who we can actually depend on and move forward from there.
Agreed. And pray for the people in Ukraine. Pray for the people in Ukraine, because it's about
Palestine
and the people in Gaza, because it's all about to come down on them hard. They are going to look at America and think, you lied to us. You're not the beacon on the hill.
Yeah, the American dream has been a lie to a lot of people for a very long time.
Yep.
So we have to make our own version of the American dream, which you can hear on Spotify and other streaming platforms.
Good segue.
American Dreams Reproductive Justice. Yeah.
On Spotify, American Dreams with Erika Washington.
Season 2 is out. And our next episode will air next Saturday. So take a listen. Anywho, thank you, Derek. I appreciate you.
Thank you. All right, let's drink.
Thanks for listening to Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington. Hosted and executively produced by Erika Washington, with music, mixing, and editing by Black Gypsy LLC. Special thanks to KUNV 91.5 in Las Vegas. This show is powered by Make It Work Nevada, a project of Tides Advocacy.